Appreciate it. We'll try to get you out of here as expeditiously as possible. Let's call the meeting to order. We'll have a word of prayer, and then we'll delve into 276. Lord, we do thank you for this day. Thank you for seeing us through the weather. Lord, we just ask you to bless this meeting. Thank you for giving us the breath of life this morning. Lord, help us to be diligent in our work and diligent in our service for you. Go with us now in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you, Representative Harrell. Don't tell me somebody's already got a question. Chairman Dixon?
Would you instruct him that he does not need to follow Representative England's example?
Oh, you mean hitting every line?
Every line.
Chairman, for those that are in Ways and Means with me, like Representative Stevens, there's no worry about that. I follow Chairman Paul Battle's theory of the bill, which is only slightly more laborious than the one we're using.
Oh, Lord.
It just depends whether you want it to pass or not.
Yeah. All right. Representative Harrell, we appreciate you being here. Appreciate the work all the folks on the study committee did this summer. Our friends from Department of Revenue, our friends from legal counsel, other friends in the industry that showed up for these meetings. We recognized them before, but we do appreciate their help and their support on this. And we'll ask you to take us through 276.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This meeting, we're looking at LC 362714S. And again, if I could just reiterate that Sean Marie and legal counsel and the Department of Revenue have been invaluable to me, and I know I've been a pain and driven them crazy, or revision after revision, but the department and Sean Marie especially have been so good to work with, and I appreciate all their hard work and long hours and to get to where we are today. The industry has been very cooperative and receptive. I think, as evident by the fact that you're not hearing, I hope you're not hearing opposition from members of the industry, regardless of where in the industry they fall. So I give them great credit too for being open to work with us through this process. A week or so ago, I presented to you House Bill 276, and we went through a little cheat sheet, and I explained to you that although it was a lengthy bill, the revisions were primarily necessary, and the length was due to the fact that we were moving definitions and moving licensing, so that affected so many additional code sections. So today, in your packet, you should have another one-page letter from me, and that's kind of what I'm going to work off of. And the reason we have a substitute before you today instead of the prior bill is this little one-page cheat sheet tells you the changes from the bill you previously received to the one that's before you today. And of course, you've had this substitute for a few days now since we didn't act on it last time we met. So very quickly, the changes on the substitute are on Section 1, which is begins on page 3, line 32. And you remember we created a new term, fermented apple beverages, to keep the tax rate on that particular product as a malt beverage. So we've made a modification there that clarifies that fermented apple beverages will be deemed a malt beverage. Also in Section 1, on line 5, we added the words original and, 2 words in front of unbroken packages. The department and the industry understands what an unbroken package is, but sometime in the marketplace it was a little bit confusing. So the original and unbroken package to clarify. So for example, if you go to a Kroger today, you can get a mix and match 6-pack, and some people thought, well, if you took one brand out of a wrapper and mixed it up, you were breaking the package. That's not the case. So original and unbroken package kind of adds some clarity there. On Section 38, which is on page 30, lines 1026 through 1043, what we're doing is we're striking out a requirement that the commissioner shall issue an annual permit to permit educational promotional tours at distilleries. This basically just reflects the existing practice today. So the commissioner has not been issuing that annual permit, and that ability to offer a tour is kind of encompassed in the distillery permit itself. So it was not a secondary. So this adds clarification. It doesn't mandate something to the department, which in practice was not being done anyway. So that adds clarity there. On Section 40, which is on page 31, beginning on line 1065, Again, as we discussed last time, we just added some clarity to clarify that an individual that is a home brewer doesn't have to be licensed under this title as a licensed brewer. Next item is on Section 50, which begins on page 37, lines 1278 and 1279. Again, just as we discussed with regard to the distillery, it just strikes out the requirement that the commissioner shall issue an annual permit for these educational tours. Again, just like with the distillery, the practice has been that there's not that tour is authorized under the brewery permit itself, and so it removes that mandate on the department and reflects the actual practice in the industry. Section 55, which begins on page 40, lines 13, 55, and 56, just as with home brewers, clarifies that someone that makes wine at home does not have to be licensed as a vintner. On Section 57, which begins on page 40, lines 1380 to 1426, it strikes out proposed modifications in your first version of the bill regarding Georgia farm wineries and kind of reverts back to the existing language. After further thought, we determined that we were satisfied with the language that exists in current code today, so we've kind of reverted back to exactly where we are today. And finally, in Section 69, on page 48, beginning on line 1640 through 1654, we strike out proposed modifications that were in your original version, talking about those same fermented apple beverages. We originally had put the modifications in this portion of the bill, but as I mentioned up in Section 1, putting that term there, fermented apple beverages deemed a malt beverage, takes care of the issue, and so we didn't need the modification to remain in this portion of the title as well. Those are the only changes to the sub versus the original that you saw. And again, I have not heard any negative discussion from members of the committee. I've checked with the industry time and time again over the last week or so. I believe everyone is still satisfied. I believe the department is satisfied that while, let's be clear, this is not a department bill, that they can enforce it and that it meets any concerns they may have had. And so that's the substitute, and I would be glad to answer any questions about that. And at the appropriate time, I do have one amendment that I would like to offer for your consideration.
Thank you, Representative Harrell. And I tell you, he's just worked tirelessly on this piece of legislation all year, and I'm certainly glad he's carrying it. He's a great person to carry this legislation, and thank you very much. Questions from the committee at this time? All right. What's your amendment that you want to offer, Representative?
Members of the committee, you have an amendment before you, AM 360491. And what this does, quite simply, it repeals in its entirety Article 3, Chapter 3. And this is a provision in our current code that has been deemed by both the Georgia and the U.S. Supreme Courts to be unconstitutional. So the words on the paper have not been enforced for a number of years, and we're just removing that language. To be quite frank, I had included this removal in a code revision bill last year that didn't quite make it to all the way through the process. And so I had embedded it in a code revision bill last year, but it is more appropriately included in an update for us. So again, we're simply striking a provision that's been deemed unconstitutional, has not been enforced in a number of years, and I'd appreciate your support for removing those words.
Now let's make sure we're on the right line, Representative. We're looking at line 6, and you're taking out these 3 lines here: governing advertising of distilled spirits and other alcoholic beverages to repeal in its entirety.
That is correct. So on the amendment, line 6 on the amendment, it simply reads, by deleting lines 374 through 394 and inserting thereof, said title is further amended by repealing in its entirety. So we're taking out the entire Article 3 of Chapter 3 relating to prohibited conduct on licensed premises. And again, this is just it's old verbiage that has been deemed unconstitutional.
I'm sorry, I'm so confused here. We're deleting lines 374 through 394. Is that right? Am I looking at the right? 374. Have we got the right line numbers here?
This appears correct on page 11. And what is happening, is we're deleting those lines, inserting this language in the amendment, and then those lines below are renumbered. So the language you see there on 374 on page 11 of your sub, they're being shifted by this amendment. This is being inserted in. So as you see on the amendment on line 9, by redesignating sections 11 through 84 as sections 10 through 83, respectively.
Okay, so basically we're deleting.
Well, we're deleting the code of the C section, and section 9 stays with the new language.
Do y'all, okay, as long as the committee understands this, I don't have to, but.
No, that's not fair. You got to also.
Huh? You got a question?
I was just going to ask a question.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay, number 18. Thank you for your help.
So basically what you're saying, Representative Harrell, is all this is language that was unconstitutional, taken out. You were going to do it before. It's basically a cleanup move, and that the only changes by inserting this amendment, the only changes would be to the actual numbering of the lines itself.
Correct. This is an addition to the substitute before you, and the additional language would have the effect of repealing that unconstitutional article. That's correct.
Thanks.
All right. Any other questions about the amendment at this time? Everybody feels comfortable with that? All right. The author has moved that we adopt, or wants us to adopt Amendment AM 360491. Is there any objection to the adoption of the amendment to be included in this legislation? Here, none. Amendment is adopted then. All right, now we have the substitute to LC 362714S before us as adopted. Have any questions on that? All right, we're ready for a.
I would move do pass for House Bill 276 by substitute.
Okay, as amended in committee.
As amended in the committee.
I'll second the motion.
Got a move and second. Any further discussions regarding House Bill 276 as amended in committee? All right, if not, all in favor, let me say an aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Representative, thank you again. So we'll get this cleaned up and have you a clean bill ready to go to the floor. So you're ready to try to go to rules, and hopefully we can persuade our friend to move it expeditiously.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Members of the committee, y'all have gotten an invitation for a dinner next Wednesday night. Have y'all seen the invitation yet?
Yes.
Sir? You haven't seen it? You responded? Okay. I'll get Julie to send it back out today. Next Wednesday night at 6 or 6:30, I think, isn't it?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock at Agave Restaurant. Okay? 6 o'clock next Wednesday night. And we appreciate our friends willing to do this for us. Thank you very much. It'll be a committee dinner. So we need the responses back to Julie on who's going to try to be able to attend. Is there anything else to come before the committee today? We will meet Tuesday. We're going to probably have 3 pieces of legislation. We should have our Uber bill before us. Representative Tankersley is going to come back with her piece of legislation, and hopefully we'll have the fireworks legislation ready to go that day. So we may try to extend our meeting date a little bit Tuesday afternoon, if that's all right with the committee. Number 14. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, as I know there's a lot of public interest in that one bill that relates to time-sharing travel companies, Uber and Lyft and so forth. Isn't it true that the chair has been working with representatives from those organizations to construct a good business? I'm just trying to keep from that flood of emails that we had from people not thinking that the chair has done yeoman's work in working with the author and the people affected.
I think we've reached an amicable agreement on that. We had several meetings last week with the interested parties on both sides. I think they've come up with something that's going to be agreeable to all. not egregious to them, but certain things that they need to be doing that we're asking them to do. So it is,
That might be going a little too far.
okay, well, maybe
The chairman, worked it out, was working.
I think we'll have it worked out by Tuesday. Yeah. But both sides will be a little ticked off. How about that?
The art of compromise, Mr. Chairman.
Art of compromise, that's right.
Everybody's mad.
Everybody be mad. That's what I told them when we got through. If all of you are mad, then I feel good. But maybe not to that point. But thank you. Thank you, Representative. I believe we have reached something that's going to be working there. All right, nothing else come before us. We're adjourned. Thank you for being here.